All right, good evening, everybody. Thank you for attending the first Solarize Oakland County. Special thank you to Chair Woodward of the Oakland Sustainability Office. I've been great partners on this initiative. My name is Marshall Clebeau. I serve as the Director of Michigan Solar Communities with the Great Lakes Renewable Energy Association, GLREA. The Great Lakes Renewable Energy Association is a nonprofit working on energy adoption, renewable energy adoption here in Michigan. I've been around since 1991, one of the longer standing nonprofits in the state doing the work of education, implementation, and policy work. We are a member organization, so we have more membership information on that welcome table. $30 dues per year, pretty reasonable. That's what sustains our work here today. And as well, we offer a lot from Thursday night renewable energy stories. Our YouTube has a great plethora of resources from solar advocates, wind advocates, geothermal. If you're looking for it, we have it. I really like showing this graphic at these events. Thank you to the Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory for publishing this and allowing us to use it. This is a breakdown of the Michigan energy generation. So back in 2023, the state of Michigan passed an ambitious 100% renewable energy target in 2050. And so here's the breakdown. At the very top, you see a very small, thin solar line, that yellow. So we have a lot of work to do to fully transition away from dirty fossil fuels, which we know are not only damaging our planet, polluting our communities, but quite frankly, are a more expensive form of energy. And so really the breakdown here is that natural gas is that baby blue, nuclear is red, petroleum's that green, and coal's the black. One thing that you might notice is on the far right side of the screen here, the gray is rejected energy. That is rejected energy is things like heat loss, fossil fuels. You have to overbuild your production to reach the consumption to the end user. And renewables really eliminate a lot of that rejected energy. It's more decentralized energy, more point of source contact. So unfortunately, they stopped producing this graphic in 2021, but the energy mix really hasn't changed all that much. So we got a lot of work to do to put residential solar, advocate to your businesses, your schools, your local units of government. All the pieces add up to be significant. The Michigan Solar Communities Guidebook is a practical tool for local units of government, people more interested in learning about solar. This is a great resource that GLRA put together. I do have some physical copies if people are interested in those. It took 3 to 4 years to design this guidebook. It's also on our website, glrea.org. We'll be sending these slides out, so don't feel like you have to take photos of them. They'll land in your inbox. This next slide here is just to download the guide. And so these are our active Solarize communities. The program started in Ann Arbor in 2022, started out with neighbors coming together, much like the Tupperware party of the past, where people come together, they get a discount the more that people purchase. We've expanded it all the way to the UP, Munising. That was a fun event. Pretty prevalent in Lansing, Holland, Kalamazoo, Oakland County. This is our very first event. So one of the insights that I had was it was kind of confusing for people. You know, I live in Lansing, there's an East Lansing event, am I eligible? And people are generally eligible, but this way we're doing it at a county organizing approach. So anyone in Oakland County is eligible for the program. And Oakland County has just been a great partner. So what is Solarize? Solarize is a community organizing model, peer-to-peer, neighbor-to-neighbor, pulling together interested parties through education, and ultimately getting a group-wide discount on your solar. Unfortunately, the home residential tax credit went away at the end of 2025. The big, beautiful bill canceled that. But that just makes this program that much more advantageous. Adam here from Absolute was going to do a great job at kind of showing how you can maximize your return on investment. And one of the only constants in life is that our utility bills are going to keep rising. So DTE and this neck of the woods just got approved for another rate increase. So I know we're all feeling it, but they're going to keep coming back for more and more. So Solarize has really done great work across the state of Michigan. These are kind of the numbers over the lifespan of GLRA's program. We did over 1 megawatt of energy last year, 100 sales. So that was really a great year for us. We really ramped up the program in the last year or two. So yeah, you're adding here to the participant list, get a free estimate, and then ultimately we've ended at 185 sales. And this has resulted in over $357,000 in savings. So the savings are real. There's no bait and switch here. We're a trusted nonprofit. We work with trusted solar companies, helping to help you save money. I'm going to kick it off to Dave Woodward here, who's been an integral part in getting this program launched in Oakland County. So thank you so much, Dave.
Thank you, Marshall. Yeah, that's what we're doing. Okay. So again, thank you everyone for being here. I want to give a special shout out from one of my colleagues that we wouldn't be able to support this program with all of our Oakland County leaders. Penny Lubes, who's in the house, that represents Troy and Boston, and unfortunately where I live with me. As a county, we are genuinely very committed to not only expanding all efforts to help promote renewable energy. There is an environmental benefit, but first and foremost, particularly in these economic times, figuring out ways to permanently and structurally lower energy costs for people is critical. And I am a firm believer that this is, and I said those were here at the very top, that the only surest, most reliable, cost-efficient way to do it is to generate our own energy. And generating energy from the sun, it long-term will pay its dividends and have the return on investment that's necessary to permanently, structurally lower energy costs for our communities, for individuals, for governments, nonprofits, businesses, etc. So I offer to, and as someone who has put solar on his house, to share my story and what that process is, to demystify it for those who are thinking about it or think that it's something I'd like to look at. I'm happy to share that story. How do we move these slides?
I don't have slides.
Oh, they're not in here? Oh, okay.
Sorry, are in there. It's just after a brief introduction by Julie.
Never mind. There we go. All right. So I'm introducing again. Okay, well, there we go. Well, with that, Oakland County, I'm our board of commissioners supporting the Solarize efforts, but also with our Office of Sustainability. Julie Lyons-Brinker is the leader of this effort for the county on not only, helping partner with the Solarize effort, but a host of other renewable energy, sustainable measures all across the county. So, Julie?
You can go through your slide.
Oh.
We'll jump back to Julie. Sorry.
We'll jump back to Julie. Okay. All right. I can do it all. All right. So, folks ask me, the reason why did I embark on this? And fortunately, I had some friends that actually had done it. I'd looked at it. It's something that from a policy perspective, I've been working on in some capacity or another for many, many years. But first and foremost, it really comes down to saving on electric bills. The federal tax credit at the time for residential, the 30% tax credit was a big opportunity to greatly at the time reduce the cost for implementation. Resiliency, and I'm going to come back to that at the very end about what the idea of being able to harness the energy of the sun to be able to support my household energy needs and be able to, again, permanently structure energy bills. And then it comes down to my values. As a county, myself, we are regularly taking efforts to permanently, with the goal of reducing carbon emissions from an environmental sustainability point of view. And all of these things kind of come together in such a way. So that's actually the solar panels that were installed. Actually, my kid asked me why I went up on the roof. I'm like, I have to take a picture of this because my other pictures are fairly old. So for the process for putting up solar, and you're going to hear from a very reputable vendor, and there's others out there that really from start to finish started. It took over about a four-month process. Starting actually, it was like Earth Day in 2022. Had the friends that had already done it, brought them in, been able to do the aerial photography and the analysis on how many panels. Get a general estimate of how you're going to maximize any energy production. In the last session, it was mentioned, are you looking for maximum long-term energy production? Are you looking for highest rate of return and playing with it? So my buddy had a 7 kilowatt system, and I can't help it. I just wanted it bigger. Do what you want, because the southern portion of the roof is the south facing side, which is the ideal position. It's a fairly low pitch, so I'm getting less generation off those panels, but it was able to build a fairly large system. When you start talking about that, you're like, I don't even know how much energy my house uses on an annual basis. And what's really great when you work with firms that have been in this space, they will talk you through, not only help you understand your energy bill, which I doubt most of us do know on a normal basis, or even know what you're paying for kilowatt or what hour of the day that you're paying for that kilowatt. But it's not a magic unknown box. It's a predictive formula. But at the end of the day, was able to develop a system of nearly 10 kilowatts that would offset 80% of my energy. And why I want to mention this is because you'll hear it and you'll see it on Facebook, and you'll hear the people say, well, you can't do solar in Michigan because it's too gray. And there's not a gray day that I don't generate energy. There are better days that you generate energy, but this particular system on the roof with the estimate and 80% energy offset of what my current energy use was, resulting in about a 70% differential. And people are like, well, why aren't those numbers the same? Is because there are costs to hooking up to the grid. There's fees that DTE will charge you regardless. And in general, I'm supportive because I didn't plan to 100% eliminate what my energy consumption was. And I need to use the grid, and I have a duty and responsibility, just like anybody else, to pay for my fair share on what access to the grid when I need to do it. The estimated production, about 8,800 kilowatts on an annual basis. So it's like brass tacks. Like, what did this cost at the time? And this is either 2002. This is before some of the record inflation, and certainly before some of these tariffs that have gone out of whack. But the whole system cost about about $3 a watt across the system. That's not $27.55. That's $27,000. But because of the federal tax credit, you had like $7,200 of federal tax credit that would offset for a net cost of $20,000. And let me show you how this breaks out, because that's a big number for me. And it's like, well, how are we going to pay for it? Sorry, that's off a little bit. So there are a number of other financing things. So obviously, if I had $20,000 laying around with no other purpose to do, I would just buy it and then pay no interest whatsoever. Michigan Saves is a great organization, works with credit unions to help to do home energy loans, and was actually, if I understand, was actually set up by the Public Service Commission. Was
it part of the 2008 Public Act 295?
It was from a law created them.
Gave a grant to start
it up. So, but basically, it lowers the risk for credit unions to provide loans, and so they can generally provide loans at a lower market rate than you might find in the private market. At the time, and this is lower than what the rates are now because prime is just higher, 5.25% over 15 years. It didn't require a down payment whatsoever, a 25-year guarantee on the panels and the system, and if anything ever was to go wrong, with an estimate for them to last a lot longer. Overall lifetime savings, and this number is very close to the total installation. Like, this is money that I'm projected to save over the 25 years of what the solar system would exist. Putting $30,000 in my pocket. What did that all come out to? Amortize it, $150 a month. Now, turns out my current bill was about $150 a month on that day. Now, again, we're talking about like a 70%, no, excuse me, 80% annual savings. And so there's one way to look at it is like, okay, so how much more out of pocket when you put all these numbers together was I experiencing? And between $40 and $50 is maybe the extra out of pocket benefit. But what's really important, and I love this chart because this is where it is right now. And we all know the energy costs are not going down by any measure. They will only go up. The most recent 4+% increase. This is predicting a 4% increase just in forever. With all the pressures, data centers, and the demand for electricity in the region and everything, I'll put $100 down. I'll put your first $150 down. That it's going to be a lot more in the next 10 years, 20 years than it is now. My post-solar energy cost is these green bars, which this is just forecasting, assuming that this stayed the same, would be, 100, I forget a number, this exact number came out to me. It was, it's like 100, about $50 a month. Growing to that because the energy generation is constant. And so every time, and I'm not cheering when the rates go up, but every time the energy rates go up for energy, I'm saving extra money for every kilowatt I send to the grid, every kilowatt I don't need to take from the grid, and the storage we're going to talk about in just a little second. But this is just like, this is how the cost savings long-term and why there is no other way to bend the cost curve on what energy cost is. You can, have the most efficient appliances, you can have the best windows, you're never going to be able to bend the cost curve that much without structurally changing how you get energy into your home, in this case with solar. And so the lived experience, and don't look at this bottom part for a second, but this is 2025. And this is, I took this at 2:41 this afternoon. It's usually a little video because anyone who puts solar on the roof will tell you, you get addicted to the apps that track your energy. You want to know at any given moment, how much energy am I making on this cloudy day? You take bets on it. Your wife looks at you across the room. Are you insane? But at 2:41, 2.8 kilowatts coming into the house. The house is using a half a kilowatt. Since installation at 22, I put a solar battery on. Coming back to that resiliency motivation that I can generate the energy, charge the battery, live off the battery when the sun is down, charge it back up at night if necessary at a lower rate than what the peak rate is during the day. I'm able to, again, further bend the cost curve. We're not here necessarily to talk about a solar battery, but I love this toy so much. It's more than any toy I've ever had. And so what the real life experience is, and this is like, and I've seen it on the Facebooks and all that other type of stuff about people saying like, you can't have, solar will not work in Michigan. You can't do it. I didn't seek out to completely generate energy for my home with solar. Energy imported for 2025, 4,400. Energy exported, 3,455. That's after all the energy that was taken and used in the house for the entire year. If DTE allowed me to net meter, I'm looking at about 900, like a differential of, it's a higher return on investment for me, or higher return for me. But at that, it broke down to about $354 for the entire year, which broke down to about $30 a month. So you saw that original estimate that was built off just the solar panels and everything. I'm paying about $30 a month on average across the board. And what's interesting about this, January 1 of last year, our family got an EV. And to run that EV and charge it at my house the entire year takes about, I went through and actually calculated this number. This is about 75% of the charging at home, and the other charging just happens in the world, wherever it is. If I took the car away, because the car charging alone is $27, I've almost reached complete energy generation to support my house. And this is possible. It is not to minimize that the cost investment upfront, but the question is, what are we looking at? Coming back to this chart, one way or another, we're going to be paying a lot for energy going forward. Like, this is inevitable. The $150 bill transitioning to $381 bill, and probably at a faster clip than what this chart actually exists, is there. And the question is, if there's a smarter way to do it, if we're in a position to figure out how to bend the cost curve together, if we look at a long distance curve, and then also take in consideration from home values, and there are better experts in here, but I've heard everything from $2,000 to $3,000 a kilowatt is the increased value of the home. I've heard it's 3 to 4% of the home value. I'm not moving anytime soon. But in terms of an investment that actually holds itself, and you have a home that is actually much more not only energy efficient, but is able to generate the energy to survive, it's a much more attractive investment, more valuable to other people going forward. So that's that. I'm happy to answer any questions. I brought the full report of the proposal that anyone's happy to look at, happy to share. Thank you all for coming out tonight.
Great. And we'll save questions for the end of the show. After Adam gets through his slides, he might answer some of your questions, and we'll leave plenty of time for Q&A. So now we got Julie Lyons-Bricker, and Oakland County's doing great stuff at the county. So we really love the partnership with local units of government. It just kind of shows the nonprofit local unit of government partnership can get things done. So thank you so much, Julie.
Yeah, thank you, Marshall. Hello, everyone. As mentioned, I'm Julie Lyons-Bricker. I'm the Chief Sustainability Officer for Oakland County. And I wanted to thank you all for making time tonight to come and learn about Solarize and what's happening here in the county. The work that I do varies in terms of the topics from the sustainability realm. So we do things like energy efficiency, we certainly do renewables, we think about alternative fuel vehicles, and just wanted to give a quick overview here. We want to make sure that you all recognize that we are working to walk the talk. You know, we're going to help you understand different options, but we want you to know that we're also doing these things. So you can see here is a picture of some of our sustainability in action. We have multiple alternative fuel vehicles in our fleet. We see our first solar array that was installed, and I forgot to mention earlier today, it's one of my favorite pictures because you see the newer technology, the solar panels in the foreground, and if you look to the right, there's a steam stack in the far back left. That is a steam plant tower that we have for several of our buildings, and that's the old technology. So we hope to continue moving forward on this newer technology. Then, you know, we've worked on implementing a campus recycling program for internal and external. And then one of the exciting things we have going on right now is at the beginning of June, we start a new contract with a company that is building a solar farm in Hart, Michigan, and we are buying 65% of our electrical consumption through those solar offsets. And so that's really, a big step for us as we move toward reducing the greenhouse gas emissions that we have. And we recognize that this is an offset, but this allows us to get closer to our goal while we're thinking about how to fund on the ground projects on our campus. Okay, and then I wanted to also just cover this because, again, we work on many of the different topics in sustainability, and you may have seen when you came in the flag in the back. We have started working on our Oakland County related events and trying to make them as low waste as possible, and that happens through streaming. And so we are collecting food scraps. The plates and cups and flatware that you have are compostable, and we'll take it to turn it back into dirt. Here is a picture of one of our first events, and we've got recycling in the dark bins, compost and food scraps in the light bins. That is one bag of landfill waste, and it is a full-size bag, but we were serving 443 people, and that's the amount of trash that we ended up taking to the landfill for that one. So we know it's possible. And then the other thing I wanted to just mention quickly is that we're on a regular basis looking for certifications that we can work on. And again, it's not just to get the certification so we can say we have it, but each of these certifications come with best practices and checklists and things that are advised for organizations who want to be sustainable to do. And so this is where we are, and we will continue doing this. So again, so glad you're here. Hope you enjoy the program. Our website is at the bottom, and look forward to keeping in touch. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dave. And now we're going to hear from Adam of Absolute Solar, one of my favorite companies in the state. So thank you so much, Adam, for everything you do.
Thanks, Marshall, and thanks everyone for speaking. And Dave, your presentation was magnificent. I want to watch that every night before I go to bed. This is me in my house. I put solar up. I won't go through my whole sob story of how I put solar on my house as well, but it is a beautiful journey. It's reduced my electric bills by about 70–80%. It used to be 100, but my wife did buy an EV last year, so you're using more energy, and that's kind of how that goes. So a little bit about our company. I know for some of you in the room, you probably already heard this, but I'm just going to do it again. Essentially, our company, we met out of law school at MSU, studying environmental law. The founders of our company were realizing that, the laws are kind of placed in stone in a certain way, and they wanted to try to change that. And of course, they figured out that there is a policy and a way to make these changes happen, but it was going to be a long-term plan for that to exist. So they created this company as a grassroots idea of flipping the script from a top-down approach to a bottom-up. We wanted to be more grassroots and say, how can we help people in real time as opposed to thinking 20 years down the road? So that's what the impetus of our company is. Founded in 2016, we're coming up on 10 years, which is exciting. We're locally owned and operated right here in Michigan, and we're licensed and insured. We have masters of electricians on staffs. It's an important thing for anybody looking at putting solar on their property. It's obviously got to connect to your electric system for your home. Having electricians for that is required. Big part of the company and what we do is that we're turnkey, meaning we're doing it all. We're the installers at the end of the day. We're the designers. We're the ones actually on site making sure that these things are done. All the permitting we do for you, all the interconnection applications you have to submit through DTE, that stuff we do on your behalf. We schedule the inspections. All of this stuff is going to be done so you guys don't have to really lift a finger on anything. Big part of our company is that we monitor your system daily. Every system, like Dave indicated, I have it on my phone. I can show you my solar production and all that. Every contractor who is able to service this has that ability to see what your system is doing in real time. And if there's ever an issue with your system, we're actually able to service that equipment. It's a big part of what we do as a company is we service any system failure, which again is rare, but we do service that for you in the off chance that that does need to happen, which is a big part of what you want to look at for your long-term investment. So let's look at the future of solar for your home. I mean, essentially what we're doing is, like Dave and Marshall and everyone here has mentioned, the most cost-effective way to help you save money long-term on your electric costs is just by creating another form of energy via solar. So by going solar, you can significantly offset those costs and insulate yourself from these rapidly changing rates. Because as we all know, rates aren't going down, and being able to create a second source of power for your home via the sun for free, that's a much better way than paying DTE and getting the thanks, we'll keep your lights on. So, our systems are built to last decades. They really are. Like David mentioned in his synopsis, we do this similar thing where we're looking at a 25-year spread of how the money breaks down over time. Not only year one is important, but we're looking at 10, 15, 25 years down the road, and we want to be here for you for that exact reason. So in case there is something going on with your system's performance, we're going to make sure that we do that. And we monitor your system's performance in perpetuity at no cost. So one other thing that I think is important is that we do this complimentary service, unlike a lot of other companies. We do a 3-year production guarantee as well, which is an important measure because we're looking at historical data for your electric use and how much energy how much energy the solar system should be able to offset. And we offer those guarantees to make sure that it's a sound investment for you. So going into the future of how we're going to do this for you and kind of how we've been planning this all along is really, we've been looking at the solar industry since the dawn of our company. Back in 2016, there wasn't the Inflation Reduction Act. There wasn't tax credits for nonprofits. And we were still working with those kind of companies to make sure that those things could happen, regardless of incentives. And now that we're in 2026 without a tax credit for homeowners, unfortunately, we still have to figure out a way to make that work for you guys. And obviously, these Solarize programs are the best way because now you can at least save on the upfront cost, not having to worry about that on the front end. So prior to the IRA, we knew that these systems were phasing out, and the IRA stands for the Inflation Reduction Act. Essentially, before that was passed, they were phasing down how much of a tax credit you were going to be able to get. That passed in 2022. Of course, that was exciting for everyone because it extended it. But now that it's gone, it's something that we have to just prepare for and know how to work around. So like I mentioned, with nonprofits, we work with them to kind of figure out the best way to make their project move forward without any type of incentive and to help maximize the returns. And so what we'll do is figure out what type of investment you're looking at doing for your home. Like if it's going to be the quickest return on investment, what are we looking at here? Or if it's the longest, sometimes it's that bigger system, whatever, DTE or whatever your utility company is, probably most people DTE in here, figure out what is possible for you. So when we're looking at this, we want to just make sure that we're doing an in-depth analysis. Like Dave mentioned with his solar contractor, basically they wanted to come out, figure out how much energy are they using? How much energy are you using in your home every day, every month, every year? What we do when we go to submit any type of interconnection application through the utility company is we have to figure out how much kilowatt hours did you use in the most recent 12 months. That's all they care about. Unfortunately, if you just bought your house and you have no bill yet, you need to at least have 1 month. We need to know kind of what to estimate for your bill. We can't do it on anything that you don't have any type of property ownership of. We want to make sure you own the property. That's an important part of it too. But what we're going to be looking at is anything around the solar system, like any other obstructions like buildings, trees, anything that could cause snow, soiling, any type of product that's going to affect any solar production. Those are things that our software actually looks at, so you can make sure that it's going to be designed accurately. And so once we do this design, we're going to do a lot of emulations to make sure we can get you the best results for that. So we can get you the best kind of energy production estimate when we provide that for you. So once we figure that out, we can look at the size, we can customize it based on your likes of your investment, looking at the largest return or the quickest. And then like I mentioned previously, when we're looking at ROI, we're looking at sometimes around that 60 to 75% bill savings or electrical offset. We want to look at that for the quickest return typically, and then you can go up to 110%. But now that the utility company doesn't give you retail rate for your excess energy that you generate throughout the day, that's why that larger system is going to be a bigger overall return, of course, because you're creating more energy. But that smaller 60 to 75% electrical offset is where the sweet spot is for that quickest kind of return. So the utility rates, as we can talk to the nth degree on, is that they're on the rise, right? TTE wanted to go for an 11% rate increase. They just got approved for, but they always go really, really high. So the Service Commission can kind of come back with some sort of response to that. So it's unfortunate. And, like Dave's estimate was projecting 4%. That's kind of historical data. This is prior to data centers. This is prior to everything being electric for people's homes. These rates are not going down anytime soon, and those projections are real. And your energy costs, the money you spend every single month, is just, you're going to continually have to spend more on that because they charge you more for the exact same energy, which is unbelievable. So that's kind of how this is going to work. And the solution is actually pretty simple: solar. You just put that on your home, and it can help you save around, or up to, I should say, around 80% of your actual bill. And the reason I don't go higher than that is kind of like Dave alluded to, is that even if you're able to offset 100% of your energy, there's kind of fixed fees. There's, you have a meter fee, there's taxes, there's just knickknacks. If you look at the second page of your DT bill, you see all these little things in there. There's certain things that you can reduce with your solar needs. And of course, unless the sun was out 24 hours a day, then we'd be talking a very different tune. But, the sun's only out 4, 5, 6 hours a day. So it depends on, of course, the seasons and how that's going to work for Michigan. But of course, you're going to get a good offset from that. But basically, once you install solar, that's the best way to insulate yourself from any future rate hikes, because it's compound interest. If you think about it, when you look at like how much would I have spent on my energy versus what do I actually get to generate via my solar system, that's free energy every single time it's coming in. And so, after I put solar on my own house, I've never appreciated the sunny days more. Everybody does once they have it, and it's hard to not. So, of course, becoming energy independent not only reduces your bill, like it says, it's going to, naturally reduce your carbon footprint for the next generation. That's an important part for a lot of people. It's going to raise your home's value. Again, if you ever sell your home, you don't need to, but it's good things to do. It doesn't change your property taxes either. That's an important metric. So I know that's not, I don't think, mentioned in here, but that's something that's important to know if you ever do sell. And extends the lifespan of those roofs if you do install on a roof as well, insulating you from those AC costs and just, over the lifetime of the shingles. So again, this graphic here is just an important one because this is what all of us are spending every single kilowatt hour. Per kilowatt hour, we're spending 15, 20 cents, and it's going up and up every year. And this is a graph based on the historical data for the last 15 or 20 so years. This is prior to data centers being dramatically increasing the load draw that DTE and consumers and every utility company is going to have to face. And ultimately, what we have to do at the end of the day is pay for those changes, unfortunately. And with the added use of EVs and just any electrical appliance in your home, there's just more demand for electricity, and data centers can sometimes take up the amount of energy as a whole city. So that is one of the things that's going to be the most dramatic effect on all of us at the end of the day. So the way that the utility bill credits works, I talked about it briefly, but basically it's called distributed generation. So if your solar system is installed and you're able to produce more energy than your home needs in any given moment, basically it gets automatically backfed out to the grid. You have a meter on your site right now on your home. And then if the sun is out and you're not using a lot of energy, any excess goes and feeds out to the grid and you get credited. You don't get a full retail rate, of course, because the utility companies want their cake and they want to eat it too. But you do get about, give or take, 50% of the value of what you give to them is what you kind of get back. And that's where, when I was talking about the ROI, having a smaller solar system is usually beneficial, because then you're not essentially being taxed on that energy that you're excessively generating for the utility company. Again, you can still do that. It's not a bad thing to do. And if you do get batteries, it's a beautiful thing, because then the excess energy, instead of going out to the grid, goes into the battery before it goes out to the grid. So that's an important note. And that's why batteries are fantastic. And then you can use that battery's energy at the end of the day to help you offset any of your needs when the sun is not shining. So with the bill, you can offset up to 110% of your annual consumption. Obviously, we're going to help you calculate this once we have your bill. That's all we need. Then we can figure out exactly how much energy you're using for the full year. And then we can go up to that size. That's what they allow. Believe it or not, DTE limits a solar contractor to how much solar you can put on your own home. So we have to go through them in order to put solar on your house, being that it's a grid-tied system. So we're going to handle all that for you, like I said, but it's an important thought to keep aware of. Now with financing, again, you don't need to do this. Going a little bit into my story, I mean, I actually had to finance on my own home. I'm still paying off student loans, so I didn't have a nest egg to throw it in solar. I knew it was a beautiful journey and I wanted to do it, but I ended up going through Michigan Saves. And so they were a fantastic option for me. I put a little bit down towards the project, I financed the rest, and that shook out to about what my monthly bills were anyway. So it was a really net positive for me. But of course, if you have cash is king. That's a great way to do it. You can do a home improvement loan, a HELOC as well. Michigan Saves, like we've all been talking about, they're a nonprofit. They work with the credit unions in the area to find you a good rate. They have 6 or 7, maybe 8 different lenders that you can figure out which lending option is the best for you. And we can help you out with that as well. And I'll just go through these quickly because I basically already said all this stuff. So a grid connected solar system, for those of you who weren't part of the first meeting, this is essentially what your solar system will look like when the sun is shining. That solar system is going to produce energy via the photovoltaic, the PV. Those panels can be mounted on the roof or a ground mount nearby your home, and that's going to connect to the grid and to your meter essentially. But what's going to happen is the second part of this, it actually has to connect to an inverter. That's the thing converting the energy from the sun to the panels into an AC connection where it actually can help power the home. And then you can tie that in with a battery. Again, this third point here is an optional thing. You don't need to do that, but that's something that you can do to add down the road, or phase 1, phase 2, you name it. And then anything left, like I had mentioned, is that you'll see this connection to the grid is that it is a grid tied system. Every solar system we have ever installed has to be tied to some utilities meter. I know a lot of people come to me with questions like, I just want to go fully off the grid. How do I do it? And I wish them well, but DTE is not going to let you do that very easily unless you want to live on candles and third world at the end of the day. Totally up to you, of course. But cutting yourself off from the grid is harder than you want it to be for the most part, and being at least as much energy like resilient or independent is the best way to do it. So again, examples of just some arrays that we've done for folks' homes. On roofs, ground mounts. This is just some of many of our installations that we've done over the years. And this is an example house. Actually, this is pretty close to Dave's as far as annual offsets, production, consumption. And this is, again, what we're going to look at when we see your bills. We're going to figure out how much energy are you using every month, how much solar can we generate based on where we can put these panels, and then what is that system size, what are we estimating it's going to produce, how much are you going to save on your bills. Again, this is and we looked at actually Oakland County. We tried to figure out what is the average electric use for a home in Oakland County. We did this data, and this is it. So again, this isn't your house, this isn't mine, but it's very close to an average, right? So it's showing you how much average can you save on your monthly bills. And annually, it's about $1,200. This offset was about 74% of the total. Based on, you can see the consumption profile showed a little over 12,000 kilowatt hours used in that home throughout the full year. But the 25-year electric bill savings, and this is including the investment that you put into it, right? You got to spend, 20, 30, 40,000 on some of these systems. You can get that amount back, then some, because of how much you're going to end up saving once you talk about the compounding effect with how much you would have spent on your utility costs. So that's over $100,000 in utility savings over the course of 25 years. And so those are just important things to make a note of. And of course, I know for you taking photos or anybody, all this stuff will be available to you at the end of this too. So we'll be able to send this out so you can dive a little bit deeper into these details, because I want to make sure everyone has enough time so we can go through all this. It's important stuff. So the Solarize group discount, this is the most important thing for residential homes now, is that we want to help you save money on the cost of your solar system. Without the federal tax credit, this is the best way to do it, because it's basically a group discount. The more people that get involved, the better the deal it is for everyone. Anyone who wants to get a quote is automatically going to receive a quote that shows 5% off. Even if we only get one person to sign up at the end of the day, which I don't think has ever happened, you will get 5% off no matter what. And then anyone after we get up to 5 signees, then it increases for every person after 5. So it goes up to 15 total people that can sign up to get that discount. I should say that again. You can get a maximum of 15% off, but 30 people could sign up if you wanted to, but the maximum total solar discount is 15% on the solar cost. So again, that's the best way to save on your upfront cost, improving your ROI, the whole bag. So the timeline of how this is going to work for the residential group is that first thing is just figuring out what is your energy needs. Send me your electric bill. I have business cards over there. You can hand them to me. You can email me later or give us a call. That's all we need, really. But the first step is the next 2 weeks is just that request. Just find your bill, send it over, give us 2 weeks. We'll talk. We'll figure out exactly the best way to strategize this for you. And then we have another 2 weeks. Step 3 is basically enough time for us to go through the design, make sure you have enough time to receive that quote so you can go over it. And then that 4th step is another 2 weeks so you can review it. So you can make sure that you can go through your financing, your strategies. We can answer any questions for you, customize your system based on, should we move panels here or there? We can do all that for you. Figure out exactly what you want, any additional things like batteries and stuff too. And then the deadline for you guys to move forward with this group is April 7th of this year. So that's giving you guys, I guess, 6 weeks, I think, from today to finalize the discount for the total cost of the system, which again, you'll automatically get 5. And if you sign up at the end of it, what I do is I send out an updated change order for you guys that only reflects a better deal at the end of the day once you guys have already moved forward. So it's an exciting thing that I love to share and provide for everybody. It's a great economy of scale and how this all works. Like I said, all we need now is your utility bill. We can figure out all the next steps for you. And I don't know if it's a QR code or if a business card, however you want to send that to me, that's the best way to go about it. I can put my QR code here. This is a link to our website. If you want to just go straight there, there's a way to just request a quote. And we have sign-up sheets and everything else like that too. So essentially, I think that's it. If there's questions, I know either Dave or myself or anybody here can help answer them, but feel free to do that. I know we want to be, good about everybody's time. It's almost 8 o'clock. So any questions at all, please.
Yeah, if you could go a couple slides back to the bar graphs of consumption that was.
Yeah, sure.
So in the middle months, May through August, let's say, or September.
Yeah.
Is that increase, is that highly correlated to air conditioning costs?
Yeah, you're usually and this is an average home, you're spending more on your electric cost in the summer than you are in the winter typically. Some houses heat with electricity, so the way that's going to look is going to be different based on your individual needs, but this is an average house of use. Yeah.
Okay. One follow-up? So the older the house, the less efficient the house is? Is that your experience?
It depends on how well it's been insulated, how well the windows are, how well the roof is, how well the ventilation of that attic is. There's so many factors to go into like how you're being charged for your energy based on your heat and just if you have an EV in your home, you're using a lot more electricity. So it's
Would you recommend a home efficiency analysis before you start embarking on a project like this? Or?
You could. I mean, like Dave said, this is the most effective strategy for reducing your energy needs. And then typically what I tell people, which I think makes a lot of sense, is like if you put up solar and then did your energy audit, then you can actually figure out, all right, what else can I do to maximize?
Right.
Because then at that point, if your needs are less, you've already gotten approval from DTE to put up whatever you want. And if you end up using less over time, that's only a good thing to help your return on investment. Dave, yeah, sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the whole idea about what more can you do to actually get more out of the system? So I cheated DTE. I fought and I won. This is before it could go up to 110. Then one of my sad trees got sick out in front and it went down. And it just shaded the panels enough that I got a 15% return on investment out of the gate. And then my neighbor had an oak that needed trimming and I got even more. And then grandpa's old cooler, well, it was time to go. And I shouldn't have had that. And I started saving $25 a month just on that. So all of a sudden, my energy use went down and the production went up. And that is why my own experience is the house is almost producing enough to support it because my cost curve is a little bit different. And then I had to force my wife to turn off her heated floors.
Yeah, once you have solar on your house, then you start diving deeper into the details of what you're actually using, and it helps you become more efficient. Yeah.
So are you the only solar company in Michigan, or do you have competition of your?
Oh no, there's a lot of solar companies in Michigan. I mean, I don't know how many more will be around post tax credit world, but we are going to be around for the long haul. But yeah, we are the contractor for the Solarize group. Of course, it's always recommended to get quotes from outfits. We want you to do that. You know, it's never one stop shop for these types of things, but we want to give you the best deal possible, which is part of this whole Solarize group program.
And you were only in Michigan.
And we are only in Michigan, if that's what your primary question was. Yeah, our company is based out of Michigan. Yeah, we're not in like California or something like that.
Right. No, I see other.
Yeah, a lot of companies say they're from Michigan, but they're not. So
How do you compare with all the other rest of outside Michigan?
Yeah, so I can talk to this, as an independent person, so GLREA, we're made up of business members and individual members. So we work with other solar companies on our website, glra.org. We'll list other companies. Absolute, they're one of the most honest you're going to find. They're going to hold your hand through it. My home, I went through Absolute. They did a great job showing me the design, worked through everything, answered any questions I had. So there are other companies out there. And like Adam said, you're welcome to get other quotes, but Absolute is the installer for this Solarize event.
So my friends have sold solar from other companies, but then he says that you also have to pay DTE as well a lot now. I don't know, you are not happy with that?
yeah, so at the end of the day, you'll still receive a bill from your utility company. It's not like it goes away forever. That's kind of the misnomer that some solar outfits will say, oh, there's no more bill anymore. You've done it. Unfortunately, that's a myth. You at the end of the day, you still have a DTE bill. There's still that meter fee. You still have taxes. You still have things in that bill that you can't fully take away via the solar system, especially now that there's distributed generation. So you still get a bill, and that's why a couple slides ago I was talking about up to 80% is kind of where you can maximize your offset, and then of course that kind of compounds as utility rates go up.
So question for him, because you said you had a bill for 150 or something, and then you have to only pay 150 for the solar, and for DTE also you have to pay.
So the 153 was basically taking my whole annual bill, dividing it by 12 bucks. I mean, they was the average out 153 prior to solar. So with the solar, it was about a $50 bill. So it was the 150 that was the loan on the solar panels, and then $50 was my energy bill that I got from DT. So I paid the loan and $50. And then in the future, when I got the solar battery, so one thing you can't do is that you can't store that energy. That energy has to go somewhere if it's not being used unless you have a solar battery to be able to capture. So that was, I didn't go into the cost of all that. But because I have that, I'm able to hold that energy completely, use it when it's dark. And so my cost of pulling money from pulling energy from the grid. I interchange money and energy all day long. It's gone down drastically. And frankly, it's gone down so much that if I didn't have the EV, like across the year, my monthly costs would be very close to zero. I would still get a DTE bill because of the fees and we can do a DTE breakdown because they don't make it very easy.
We need all night though.
But I mean, that's there. But my out-of-pocket costs was $150 for the loan, and the projection of about a $50 on average across to pay the energy bill. As I increased efficiency in the house and was able to generate more power, that $50 went down. But it's a math problem at that point.
Thank you. So for the 25 years period, like, does it cover all the service and all any issue with the panels and everything will be covered by?
So the solar panels are covered for 25 to 30 years for like a production. They guarantee a certain amount of efficiency over that course of time. And so if they aren't able to produce that, then that's what they guarantee. And of course, we can service that if that ever is the case where they're not functioning in a certain way. But that's typically what you're going to see a lot of the times. The inverter, which is like the computer, the brains of the operation, that also has a large warranty. Typically, it's 25 years as well if you get a nice product, which is what we try to offer. And then that can also be something that can be replaced free of charge if something fails in that window.
In one everything is service also free there?
For the first 3 years, our company does it for free. After 3 years, we do have like a service fee for us to come out to keep our lights on as well. But it's just $199 for us to do some service to make sure that we're doing everything right and do a diagnostic for the whole system. But we'll make sure that we can fix that problem if there ever is one. Again, it's rare. This whole system is designed to be maintenance free, so hopefully that's the case.
Yeah, and one maybe misconception or something people might not realize, the panels don't stop working at 25 years. The panels will last 30, 40 years.
Yeah.
It's just the efficiency will come down.
Yeah, the efficiency that they guarantee, it's kind of insane. It's solid state. So I can show you a data sheet for any of your quotes. It'll be provided. But basically, after the 25 years, they show you 80 to 90, sometimes even 93, 94% efficient that they guarantee in 25 years. So this system could be 50, 60 years down the road that it's still functioning for you. So it's a beautiful long-term strategy. Yeah.
So either of you guys use a heat pump hooked to this quote unquote free electricity we're generating solar wise?
Sorry, say that again.
Use a heat pump?
You can. Some houses have heat pumps to help with their,
Wouldn't that optimize the system? In other words, now you've got the natural gas you're playing with.
Yeah, if you're using less gas, that's beneficial just overall. You may be using more electricity in like evening hours, winter months.
But you've got it capacitized for it.
Correct. Yeah, if you already have a heat pump, you're using that energy.
No, I'm talking about the solar, you've got the electricity. Why not put the heat pump in?
Totally.
Now you've got.
Yeah, good.
That's what a lot of people do.
System.
Yeah, you maximize.
It would
yeah.
lower
Yeah.
the energy.
It helps. So you're using less natural gas in
Heat pumps is a
Put the
whole
battery
other
in the
hour.
heat pump.
yeah, that's the next webinar. But yeah, please.
Okay, so after the 25 years, when the panels start losing their efficiency,
Sure.
can you replace them piecemeal or do you
Yeah.
have to replace the whole system?
Yeah, you can replace it even before that if you want. We actually have some clients that installed systems around 10 years ago, and they're like, these systems now are so obsolete because the technology's gotten so much better that they just want to replace it, even though it's still working, because the panels have gotten so much better, or the inverters, the things underneath it. So you can replace them really at any time. We usually try to say, let's make sure you've at least broke even on the investment, and then sure.
But you don't have to do it all at once.
You don't have to. You can do it piecemeal. Yeah.
So, question about like immediacy, like for installation.
Yep.
So I have a 50-year warranty on my roof. How does this affect my warranty on my roof?
Well, it depends on the roofing company that you have. Some of them allow for that kind of transference. Some of them, yeah, I mean, it's an important question because we get that a lot. I mean, probably 80% of people put it on their roof and not like in their yard. I had to do the same thing. If I had enough space, I probably would have done it in like a nice open field, but I didn't have that, in a lot with a lot of other houses. So basically it depends on the roofing company and what they offer. And that's what you have to double check on to see if they allow for that type of thing. We work with roofing companies that we try to find ones like that are like, oh, we promote solar because it's going to make that roof maybe even better in the long run. Yeah.
If you think about it, the solar panels are on top of the shingles, so you actually prevent.
Yeah, you're preventing the sun, the curling, the whole effect. Yeah.
So I have the same question, but opposite.
Sure.
So
my roof is old.
Yeah, that's pretty common.
Would it be
Advantageous to
replace the roof before getting solar?
sometimes.
or
It depends on how old it is, really. What you want to do is get a roofer out there to really investigate it and see how long the life you have left in it. If you got at least 3 to 5 years, I'd say solar's still a good outfit because again, it could elongate that life if it's not at that, oh, the shingles are wailing away. But if you're starting to see like shingles missing and things like that, it's definitely recommended to do prior. And we want you to
We'll check out the roof when you do the initial.
yeah, we're gonna come out, we get up in your attic, we're looking at things to make sure it's gonna be structurally sound. We have to get engineering to approve all these designs to make sure it's structurally load for that as well. But yeah, we can look at the roof to make sure that it's gonna be sound.
But after 5 years, if you have to change the roof, right?
Yep.
So would you be covering the cost to remove the panels and then put in some?
No, that's like a labor expense. You gotta spend money for that one, yeah. So that's something that you know, that's not a free service, unfortunately. But yeah, you can definitely do that, and we have for a lot of folks. If they get a new roof and all it does is it takes us just a day to put it down, you know, schedule with the roofing company that you choose. And then obviously you want to have the solar contractor help you with that dismantling of the system. It's all connected to your panel, the meter, you got to decommission it and then return it back on once the new roof's put in place. And we can help with all that.
Couple questions on my trivial.
Sure.
Any pushback from homeowners associations, on installing solar panels at all?
We used to, luckily, that doesn't exist anymore. I forget when it passed, but there was a rule that allowed homeowners to kind of restrict that.
End of 2024?
Yeah, it was a year or so ago where they actually stopped that rule. So now you can put solar wherever you want, my friend.
Yeah.
Unless it's a historic district. I think that's the only one that still has like some jurisdiction.
So if we have winter as strong as we did this year on the years, how reliable and how sturdy are your panels? Sustainable was given to begin.
Yeah, so I didn't really talk about the racking material that goes onto the system. So it's either going to be a ground mounted racking system or it's going to be a rooftop system. They're both designed weather resistant. I think it's up to 140 mile-an-hour winds. I mean, it's UL listed, certified. There are 25-year warranties on those as well. So those are designed to last much longer than that standpoint. But we do engineer that so it's designed in the most effective way. So we're putting them in the positions that are whatever the pitch of the roof is, we want to make that level with that because creating different angles and such can create different types of resistance.
You explain like what the preliminary estimate of like what a system would cost or whatever, like what's entailed in that? Because I know you mentioned going up in attics, like that's not the first part.
Oh no, that's like after you guys have decided to move forward, we're gonna get on site and we're gonna be able to investigate and see exactly the final steps of what we need to do electrically. We'll take some photos, get our electrician out there. As far as the average cost of a system, you're probably gonna spend 25, 30 grand if I had to be honest, as far as an average, maybe a little bit more if you maybe double if you're looking at batteries. It just depends on where you're looking at for average cost. Utility, use is going up, so that could be more than that, definitely, if you're spending more on your average bill.
Well, my system was a 7.7 kilowatt system.
Sure.
My cost was 17,000.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, exactly. Mine was.
And the efficiencies of panels have tremendously increased.
Oh, man.
So you need less panels now in order to generate more electricity. So the cost of installing solar is coming down fairly dramatic.
Oh yeah, in the last 10 years, the efficiency has gone up tenfold and the cost has probably gone down by that same tenfold. It's a pretty miraculous thing. So even though it does cost you $20,000, $30,000, if you think about it from a long-term perspective, you're going to be spending that exact amount of money plus probably double on your electric bill over that same period of time, maybe triple, depending on what's going on in the future. So it's one of those things that just kind of is a long-term investment strategy. It's not a day one fix. It's a long-term approach to making a really sound investment for your home. Yeah, you in the back.
Anybody with the EV charging, consider or go forward with, using the EV as the battery backup? For a few days, without.
As far as EV charging for battery backup?
Using the car as a battery.
Yeah, so that's an emerging technology. It's definitely something we've done for a couple of folks, depending on what you have. It depends on your vehicle, depends on the type of charging station, depends on the infrastructure with your solar system, the battery system, your home's electrical main panel. So there's a lot of factors we have to figure out, but that is something that is possible to answer your question.
Be prepared to park next to your house.
What?
If you don't park next to your house, you have to change your plans to. If you want to back up your house with your car's got to be within plug-in.
Oh, yeah, you gotta be home. Yeah, if you're not there, your neighbors aren't gonna
Yeah,
benefit.
it's gotta be available to be plugged in.
Yeah, correct. But if you have a battery like Dave's house, that does help him in those moments and for the power outage moment, it does isolate you and keep your home functioning. Now, one thing that people didn't ask, but maybe are thinking is that if you don't have a battery, what happens if the power goes out? That's a common question I get all the time. By code, the solar system also has to go down just because it's connected to the meter, it's connected to the electric system. It can't be backfeeding energy if it's in a grid down situation. So that's why a lot of folks do consider, hey, maybe a battery is a good investment because again, it can help you with your home stuff. Some people want generators. We can help with that too. It's not the first thing we talk about, but it's definitely something that we can help you provide to kind of create a resiliency in the beautiful Michigan weather that we experience.
Yeah, and one thing I like to remind people about a battery is every time that power goes out and you lose a refrigerator full of food, well, that's another $100-200 that you're saving if you have a battery. And so, it's things to consider like that, that paints the whole picture.
Yeah, it's a good strategy for the long term. Yeah,
But I just want to offer up another option for the folks that might have a big issue where they're sort of on the cusp of not knowing whether or not they need to replace their roof. Maybe doesn't have a few years, only has a few years left. In our situation, we were in that spot where we weren't quite sure if we need to replace the roof right now or not. We also didn't necessarily want to take on the additional expense of having to do the roof before the solar. I didn't want to delay the solar. So what we ended up actually doing is only replacing the roof section of where the panels would go. That sort of got us through the point of, all right, that roof section is now good for the next 15-20 years, depending on what you use. And it also prevents us from, when we do have to replace the rest of the roof, having to pay to have the panels taken off of that one section. So if you are in that situation where you're not sure about the roof, you can sort of put off the roofing decision, but still control the solar decision. Beneficial.
Yeah, it's not all or nothing. That's a beautiful point. So I'm glad you brought that up. Thank you. Yeah, again.
Is there a time limit on that 4+% loan availability?
As far as Michigan saves, those loans that are available, I don't know if it's at 4% anymore. I know it used to be. We'd have to check to see what the actual number is today, but there isn't a deadline on those. Those aren't really going away anytime soon.
Yeah, but it's not 4%.
Yeah, it's probably about 6% right now.
Yeah, about 6 to 7 is probably what I'd guess for a 10 to 15 year plan. But we can help you look into that depending on the credit union.
There's no penalty for paying that down. So if you put no money down now and you cost $1,000, you can pay that loan down with no penalty.
Yeah,
which is a nice part.
It's an unsecured home improvement loan, which is a good point. Thanks, Marshall. Yeah. Yeah, again.
Just not a question, but just people talking about roofs.
Yeah.
Anybody put up a metal roof that would outdash solar?
For sure. It depends on the type of metal. Usually what I would recommend is like a standing seam. So you have something that you can put like solar brackets on. So it like clamps and doesn't actually penetrate into the roof itself. Some metal is like kind of structural. It looks almost like a shingled roof. I usually don't recommend those just because you do have to make penetrations into them. And if you have a really long-term roof, like a 50-year plan or something like that on those roofs, the last thing you want to do is put a bunch of holes in the metal roof. So if you can get a standing seam metal that clamps onto it with the bracket material that we use, and that's the best strategy for those.
I guess I can answer that too. We put out our system 6 years ago.
Oh, nice.
Put it up, 50-year standing seam metal roof. Big benefit is it sheds the snow right off the solar panel.
Yeah.
It's like a freight train. But and in the 6 years I've had this, but I'm like Bob, I got my color. I have generated 51 MKH.
Megawatt.
That's megawatt hours.
My total house usage is 43. Well,
okay.
And I have the other end, so instead of decreasing the usage, I increased it.
That's typical.
I put in a hot tub. My wife put in a hill for pottery, electrified the sidewalk so there's no ice. We maximized it because I have good power.
Yeah, it's another source.
And it never goes out. I mean, I got 3 freezers, I got 2 years.
Yeah.
So the other end of the solar is you can maximize it.
100%.
Change the hot water tank to electric. Change the stove to electric.
Yeah, it's usually like the light bulb that goes off for folks. They kind of start seeing, oh wait, I can offset the majority or even a little bit of my energy, or I can offset as much as humanly possible. Like if you have a nest egg, if you've already put your money into the stock market, you're like, what else do I do? this is the perfect strategy. All you gotta do is bet on the sun, and as long as it rises, I think we're gonna be okay. So that's about everything. I
Even
can
if you
think.
can't see the sun. you'll be
Yes.
Okay.
So
Correct.
we're past time, so we're gonna wrap it up. We'll hang around if there's any lingering questions, but thank you everyone for coming out, and you will get these in your emails.